Part 25. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 241. Chapter 241, Plant Ash Cement Production. For more please customize. Crackling. The flames in the kiln grew stronger and stronger, and a large pile of hay was burned in a short time. And every time after a pile of hay is burned, the ashes under the kiln are collected and put in a wooden barrel. In more than an hour, more than 10 barrels of plant ash have been placed next to the kiln. Woo, all the hay has been burned, and the ashes inside have been collected. Yan Jiao came over. Let someone prepare some water, the more the better, and bring it from the pool, Subai ordered. He stepped forward and reached into the barrel to check the ashes. Fortunately, there was almost no charcoal in the perfectly fired ashes. Yes, Yan Jiao immediately asked the slave to continue fetching water. 10 minutes later, the dozen buckets of water fetched by the slave were placed next to the kiln. Subai didn't say anything, but just set an example by himself. A bucket of ashes and a bucket of water were put together. He put all the ashes in the bucket and the water, then picked up a wooden stick and started stirring, trying to stir them until they were even. Yan Jiao and fox-eared girls all stood aside quietly, looking at Subai's operation in confusion. After Subai stirred the plant ash water evenly, he slowly held the wooden bucket and began to drain the water inside. This action is to drain out the water containing potassium carbonate in the plant ash water, and then retain the insoluble calcium hydroxide and calcium carbonate paste. These two things are the most important things for making plant ash cement. Without these two things, there is no way to make plant ash cement. After Subai slowly poured out the water in the bucket, he looked at the paste inside the bucket and wanted to make sure it was qualified. After making sure it was what he wanted, he started to grab a piece of plant ash and hold it tightly to drain out the excess water. Repeat this action several times until the plant ash in the barrel is completely removed. Yan Jiao looked at the ash balls of vegetation on the ground and wondered, which is this cement? It doesn't need to be processed for the time being. You can have people start lighting the fire in the kiln, Subai ordered. Making plant ash cement is not that simple. The next step is to use fire to burn it into a yellow hot state. How did the chief know this? He immediately asked people to continue to light the fire, and then put out all the plant ash balls. Go in. Crackling. The fire in the kiln was burning brightly, and the ashes of the vegetation slowly turned into yellow heat. Okay, take out all those grass and tree ash balls and let them cool down, Subai ordered. Yes, the slaves nodded. 10 minutes later, Subai waited until the grass and vegetable dumplings had completely cooled down, and then he put the dumplings into a new bucket of water. Let the dumplings begin to slowly disintegrate in the water, and then he took a wooden stick and started to stir them together. Subai took out a bucket of sand and gravel that he had asked them to prepare before. These are also important binders. He mixed the dissolved grass and tree dumplings with these fine sand and gravels. The stones slowly fused together, and then began to stir. The first time, because there were too few gravels and sand, Subai added a little more and continued to stir evenly. After 10 minutes, all the grass and tree dumplings and fine sand were gone. It blended together, and it looked like cement. Subai picked up 2 stones, smeared a lot of grass plaster on the front of one of the stones, and then placed the other stone on the side with the grass plaster. Make sure that the 2 after the stones were stuck with vegetation and plaster, he went to wash his hands clean. Woo, is the cement ready to be made? Yu Ying asked curiously. It doesn't look simple, but it's not difficult at all. Are these things used to build houses? Yan Jiao said doubtfully. He had seen all the operations just now and had no other thoughts except a little doubt. Wait for an afternoon. If the 2 stones cannot separate, the cement will be made, Subai explained. Yan Jiao squatted in front of the 2 stones curiously, looking at the 2 stones curiously. His red eyes were full of question marks, and he resisted the desire to touch them. Time passed. A second passed, it was already sunset, and the two stones had been exposed to the sun all afternoon. Subai came to the two stones, reached out to touch them, and found that the two stones had been glued together. He put the stones, he picked it up and said with satisfaction, I didn't expect it to be successful the first time. Just in case, Subai threw two more stones on the ground, and found that they were not disconnected immediately, but remained in their original state. To be more sure of success, he put the two stones in again in the water. I wanted to see if the plant ash cement would dissolve. It turned out that the two stones were still firmly bonded together and did not dissolve when exposed to water. Great, this time it really worked. Subai nodded with satisfaction. Yan Jiao saw all this scene, and finally found that the two stones were still glued together, and was very shocked. He calmed down his emotions and asked, which, this is cement? So amazing. This was the first time he saw two stones stuck together, but it had nothing to do with witchcraft. This is cement, the artifact for making houses. Subai is also very satisfied. I thought it was witchcraft. Oh my god, Yu Ying said in surprise, her pink eyes blinking. This is the power of nature and does not require witchcraft. Subai smiled. Yan Jiao kept looking at the two bonded stones, his red eyes full of surprise. He kept holding the two stones in his hands and looking at them, and kept mumbling about the magic. Others also same. I was particularly fascinated by it, and I respected Subai's feelings even more. Fourth update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 242. Chapter 242, isn't it from a big tribe? One more please customize. You all hurry up and do what I teach you, the hillock said with great energy. He looked very happy, not for anything else, because he had important things to do. I thought that there were very few opportunities for me to be useful in the tribe, and he did it every day. It's just making stone tools. Now it's good that the witch arranged to supervise the work and teach the slaves how to polish the stones, which made him a little excited. The point is that these stones are used to build houses, and some of the stones have strange shapes. At this time, someone needs to polish the stone to a level suitable for building a house, so Shan Shan is the person who does this work. He is responsible for teaching the slaves to do these things, how to make a strange-shaped stone smoother. Yes, the slaves responded in unison. Bang bang bang. Ding ding ding. Stones collided with stones, and the sound of knocking continued to be made. People were crowding around the pile of stones. And no one was idle on the other side of the kiln. Many people were burning hay and making plant ash cement. Then there were also people working in Dakang. They took plant ash cement and stones polished by slaves and began to build houses. Subai had already demonstrated to them once beforehand how to apply cement between the stones, and then how to place the stones in the second row. You can even pull a rope from one side of the hole to the other. This will prevent the house from being crooked when it is built, because the rope will measure the balance. Moreover, the drawings Subai gave them were also very detailed, and they were very clear about what to do and how to do each step. Shanshan and Yan Jiao were mainly responsible for supervising the work. The foundation has been laid in advance, and the excavated soil has been filled back in. Several stone pillars on the first floor have also been poured according to Subai's method. 4 long wooden boards are used to form the shape of a stone pillar, and then plant ash cement is poured in. When dry, the wooden boards are removed, and the stone pillar is ready. Those stones were built around these stone pillars. The first thing to do is to build walls on all 4 sides. It really looks like a house like this. Yan Jiao said, holding his chin with one hand. He looked at the stone pillars and the people starting to build walls around them. They looked quite impressive. Yeah, at first when Wu said building houses with stones, I really thought he was joking. Shan Shan sighed. When he received this order this morning, he was really shocked, but after seeing the two bonded stones, he was filled with emotions. After the plant ash cement was made yesterday, Subai he taught people how to start building a house, starting from the structure of the house, down to the selection of suitable stones for building walls, and some techniques for building walls, etc. The foundation in the center was where he taught people how to pour stone pillars, fill the foundation, and he also demonstrated a wall to everyone. So he just came over this morning to see if the slaves had mastered it. After making sure it was correct, he left, and then asked the chief and others to supervise the work. Yes, Wu is really powerful. I didn't expect him to know so much. Yan Jiao's tone was still shocked. I thought that when I heard that I could make linen, I would be the most powerful witch. I didn't expect that there would be paper making, porcelain, etc. later. Before these surprises were over, another one came to build a house. Making plant ash cement is really amazing. To be honest, Yan Jiao has begun to look forward to what shocking things Subai will come up with next. If this were on the other side of the earth, Subai would boys should be called treasure boys. Do children from large tribes learn so many things? Linen, paper, and porcelain are all things we have never heard of. Shan Shan touched his short brown hair with his hand and continued to wonder even stone houses can learn from this. He found it incredible. No, it should be said that it was impossible. Ever since he grew up, he had never heard of these things in the big tribe. When he was a child, he was lucky enough to go to the big tribe with his father. Also lived there for a few days, but he had never seen these things about today's witches. This was something he could not figure out anyway, and he even had a bold guess: didn't witches come from big tribes? But where did he come from? Is it the other side of the river? Otherwise, all this would not make sense at all. Wu is really amazing. Yan Jiao looked at the other person who kept shaking his head with determination, as if he saw himself, because he also did the same. He was very confused by this. He took a deep breath and said with firm eyes, no matter whether the witch is from a big tribe or not, he is leading us now, isn't he? Ha 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 ha, the laughter on the hill was like a bell. You are right, the witch is now the witch of our tribe. Wu said these stone houses were built to welcome the rainy season. Yan Jiao said seriously. There are still more than 20 days in the rainy season. When the rainy season comes, not many stone houses like this can be built, right? Shan said worriedly. Although he has been asking the slaves to speed up the delivery, he also needs to maintain the quality of the stone house, so he can't be too eager to achieve success. But according to the current speed, a stone house should be built in 20 days. It can be built. In addition to the 6 houses currently being built at the same time, when the rainy season comes, only 7 houses can be built at most with this house in the central area. Wu also talked about this problem, but now it can only be like this. Just wait until the rainy season passes, Yan Jiao said helplessly. When he heard Subai say that only 6 or 7 houses could be built, he was also helpless. The one in the central area is the main one, and there is a large open space around it that belongs to the houses in the central area. From now on, it will be regarded as a square. Then there is a house at each point of the circle. Those 6 houses represent 6 districts. This is how the tribe plans it now. 10 houses will be built in each district. It is equivalent to a community. The tribe planned by Subai has 6 communities. The location of each community is about the same size. There are reserved open spaces between the communities, which will become avenues in the future. I wonder which stone house the chief will live in then? Shan asked curiously. Yan Jiao pointed to the front door of the house in the central area and said slightly excitedly, it's right in front of Wu's house. It's very close to the witch's house, so you can protect the witch at a close distance. Okay, the hill nodded with satisfaction. When the time comes, Uncle Shan will also be assigned a building. The witch has said that he will use it as a mason's house for you. Yan Jiao grinned. It doesn't matter to me. Shanshan said harshly, but actually he was very happy in his heart. Please update for support and customization. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 243. Chapter 243, A Different Fox-Eared Lady. 2 more, please customize. As night falls, the big black curtain covers the entire sky, and stars begin to hang on the curtain. Many fruit oil lamps have been lit in Sudbai's wooden house, and the cabin is obviously much brighter. Yuying was sewing linen clothes obediently on the side, and poured Wu a glass of warm water from time to time. Yanhua had just left the wooden house after dinner, with a satisfied look on her face, thinking that she would have a good sleep tonight. Sudbai bit the tip of his pencil and began to think about the tribe's next plan. Dong dong dong. He tapped his pencil on the table, making a crisp sound, and murmured to himself, drainage must be considered during the rainy season. A few days ago, Sudbai asked about the rainy season, which lasts for 1 to 2 months. About. The most important thing is that it rains every day and never stops. This is also a big problem. Sudbai took a pen and planned on the wolf's tail paper. He had already planned out the rough outline of the tribe. It's the community style. Each house is located in a prescribed community, and houses will not be built randomly, and the avenues will be clearly planned. Drainage systems must be built on every avenue, otherwise water will accumulate. Sudbai squinted his eyes slightly and said. He drew a drainage pipe on each avenue, and also drew some black areas on the avenues. Those black areas are cement. The road must be paved with cement first, otherwise it will be muddy even if it rains. Sudbai murmured to himself. When the rainy season comes, it will rain every day. The dirt roads cannot carry the daily rain. Once it rains, the dirt roads will become muddy. Not to mention walking, I can't even go out. But the construction of houses must also be accelerated. Only 7 houses can be built during the rainy season, which is too few. Sudbai frowned. With a stone house, you don't have to worry about moisture or leaks in the house when the rainy season comes, and it will be more comfortable to live in. However, it is currently estimated that only 7 houses can be built, which is not a lot. Sudbai pursed his lips in thought, and continued to mutter, it seems that we can only let the tribesmen start building houses. Relying on slaves alone is a bit too slow. He suddenly thought of the 2,000 people in the Black Snake tribe. Why don't they all use them? Moreover, they will also live in these stone houses. With their help, they should be able to build more than 2,000 stone houses in more than 20 days. 20 houses. Sudbai nodded with satisfaction when he thought of this, and began to write about recruitment on the Painazitum paper. Half an hour later, he finished writing the conditions for recruitment, and then put it away with satisfaction. Xiao, come here, I have something to ask you. Sudbai put down his pen and said. Yu Ying immediately put down the linen in her hand, stood up and asked, what do you want to ask me? What season comes after the rainy season? Sudbai wanted to understand the seasons of this era. After the rainy season, there will be heavy ice and snow. It will snow a lot and it will be super cold. Yu Ying shuddered when she thought about it. The fox-eared girl thought about how she hid at home every day during the heavy snow and ice, and did not dare to go out. Even if she was hiding in a haystack and covered with animal skins, she still felt very cold. The heavy snow and ice, it's the season that fox-eared girls hate the most. There isn't much to eat, and it's cold every day. Will winter come after the rainy season? Sudbai was a little surprised. Did the seasons in the primitive era connect so seamlessly? No, it hasn't rained for more than 20 days. My father said this is called, Yu Ying can't remember a little bit. Transition period, right, Sudbai said. Yu Ying nodded repeatedly and said yes, it is the transition period. Winter will be over in more than 20 days. It seems that after the rain there is still time for us to prepare food for the winter. Subai nodded thoughtfully. It's very cold in winter, and I often don't have enough to eat. Yu Ying pouted as she didn't want winter to come. Don't worry, you won't go hungry or cold this winter, Subai said firmly. He suddenly felt that the burden on his shoulders was heavy, and there was still a lot to do. Not to mention the development of the entire tribe, there were still more than 2,000 people to fill, which was indeed a heavy burden. Yet, thinking of this, he thought of wheat seeds. It would be great if there was magic to quickly grow plants, so that he could harvest a big wave when winter comes. Woo, tomorrow is the day for our tribe to exchange dried meat with the spotted deer tribe. We need to exchange more this time, Yu Ying said softly. Subai raised his thick eyebrows and asked, "Oh? Why change more this time? The rainy season is coming in more than 20 days. When it rains, we won't be able to exchange food with the spotted deer tribe, so we should save some in advance, right?" Yu Ying's voice became smaller and smaller. This was the first time she was talking about this matter with Subai. In the past, she was doing things like making food, sewing linen, and boiling bath water, so she did not participate in the current discussion. Well, that's right. This time we will really need to buy more food. The tribe's people are no longer the few hundred people they used to be, Subai nodded. Yu Ying breathed a sigh of relief and felt much better knowing that she had said the right thing. Wu, do we have to exchange the porcelain this time? Yes, this can be exchanged for more dried meat. The amount of linen cloth is still not very large, so it can only be replaced with porcelain, Subai said softly. Some time ago, because the tribesmen moved from another place to their ancestral land, there was no sewing of linen for 4 days, so the number was reduced by dozens of rolls. Now there are only 50 rolls of linen, not as many as before. 90 volumes, so I can only replace it with porcelain. Woo, the number of people in the tribe has begun to increase. Should we involve more people in making linen cloth? Yu Ying continued to ask. Subai was a little curious about the fox-eared lady tonight and found that she was different from usual. He just nodded and asked Xiao Yu, when did you think of this? Because fox-eared lady has never participated in such topics every time she was around before. It's not that she thinks the other party shouldn't be involved, she's just very curious. Yu Ying blushed all of a sudden, lowered her head slightly, and whispered, said which, did I say something wrong? Bai shook his head and said with a smile, you didn't say anything wrong, and the suggestions you made were not bad. Although he had been planning the suggestions made by fox-eared girl before, he was a little surprised that the other party came up with this aspect. That's good, I thought I said the wrong thing. Yu Ying breathed a sigh of relief. Have you seen anyone these days? It feels like you are a little different, Subai asked curiously. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 244. Chapter 244, Crying Yu Ying. 3 more please customize. Yu Ying blinked her pink eyes, was stunned for a moment, and said hesitantly, I met Alan. Subai raised his thick eyebrows slightly and asked, what did you just say? Is that what she taught you? No, Yu Ying shook her head repeatedly, she told me that when she was chatting with me. The fox-eared lady was a little scared all of a sudden, thinking that she had done something wrong, but when she saw that the other party was not angry and gentle, she was a little unsure. Did she say that when she was chatting with you? Subai was a little surprised and continued to ask, why did you suddenly talk about this? It was that day that I was sewing linen clothes in the wooden house, and then Alan came. Yu Ying pointed her chin with her index finger and thought, then continued, she saw that I was bored and started chatting with me. Oh? What are you all talking about? Subai asked curiously, feeling that this cat-eared girl is not simple. He asked me what I was doing, and then said that the number of people producing linen was a bit low, and said, He also said that if the porcelain was so good, he would definitely be able to exchange it for a lot of food, Yu Ying recalled. Subai nodded thoughtfully, blinked his black eyes, and asked, "Is she so smart?" Yu Ying nodded without hesitation and said repeatedly, "Yes, yes, Alan is very smart. She is the smartest among the three of us. Among the fox-eared goddess, cat-eared goddess, and ox-horned goddess, one is timid, one is quieter and smarter, and the other one is carefree. If I remember correctly, she is a reserve warrior, right?" Subai asked. "Yes, she is a preparatory warrior just like Sister Ahua," Yu Ying nodded. Subai thought for a moment and murmured, "But I don't think she is very keen on becoming a totem warrior." Out of the three of them at that time, only the ox-eared girl and the cat-eared girl were more interested in becoming totem warriors. Except for the fact that the fox-eared girl had no talent, otherwise she would not have followed them. Of course, Shalan was not perfect either. She is completely passionate about being a totem warrior, but she just happens to be suitable, and Yanhu has been inviting her, so she naturally agreed. Yes, Alan became a totem warrior because of Sister Ahua, otherwise she wouldn't be willing, Yu Ying's soft and cute voice sounded. No wonder, it's just that she has good qualifications, otherwise she wouldn't be able to be a reserve warrior, right? Subai asked softly. Well, Alan's qualifications are suitable for being a totem warrior, but when I heard what she told me before, she actually doesn't like being a warrior, and she can't keep up with the daily training, Yu Ying explained. This is also the reason why Alan would chat with the fox-eared girl, because the fox-eared girl also understands the cat-eared girl better. Subai blinked his black eyes and thought, raised his head and asked, "What if she comes? As for being a Maiko, do you think she would be willing to do it?" Yu Ying's pink eyes widened with a shocked expression, and she hesitated and said, "Which, you want, do you want her to be a Maiko?" "Yeah, do you think she would be willing?" Subai continued to ask. She should be willing." Yu Ying lowered her head with a pitiful look on her face. Fox-eared lady's expression suddenly became sluggish. She looked sad, and at the same time she felt a little guilty. Subai didn't know fox-eared lady at first. What's wrong? When he saw this, he suddenly realized. He smiled, reached out to rub her head, and comforted, "Silly girl, you are still my witch. I just want to recruit one more witch. Don't think too much about it." Yu Ying's originally drooping fox ears suddenly stood up. She raised her head and asked tentatively, "Really? Is Wu telling the truth?" At first she thought that Wu disliked her, and her pink eyes were filled with mist. Fox-eared lady felt that Wu disliked her for not doing things well, or not taking good care of her. She was very worried, and thought that Wu wanted to find someone to replace her. Tears welled up in her eyes. She kept holding back the tears with her lips pursed, not daring to cry. "Of course it's true. You take good care of me so well." "Why don't I want you?" Subai asked with a smile. It was so heartbreaking to see the fox-eared girl biting her lower lip desperately, holding back tears and not daring to cry. Yu Ying felt a warm hand on top of her head comforting her. And her mood suddenly felt better. She reached out to wipe away the tears from the corners of her eyes, and asked in a tearful tone, "Then the witch thinks I take good care of her, so why do I need to find a witch?" This is what the fox-eared lady is most afraid of. In fact, when she first became a Maiko, she was worried every day. She was afraid that she would not do well enough and be rejected or replaced. "Ha ha ha, because you said Shalan is very smart, so you want her to help me," Subai said lightly. "Then am I not smart enough, so the witch needs to find an extra witch?" Yu Ying lowered her head again. "No, I have a lot of things for her to help with, such as publishing recruitment news and dealing with tribe matters," Subai explained. Yu Ying understood immediately and sighed, "So that's it? I thought Wu didn't want me anymore." "Ha ha ha, how could it be? The meat you roasted and the noodles you cooked for me were all delicious, and the linen clothes you sewed were also beautiful. How could I dislike you?" Subai said gently. He didn't expect this. He didn't expect that the fox-eared lady had such a delicate mind that she actually thought of this. That's good, Alan should be willing. Yu Ying suppressed her tears. Knowing that she would not be replaced by the witch, the fox-eared girl began to smile on her face, no longer the aggrieved look at the beginning. Then go and call her over and ask her in person if she is willing, Subai said softly. Okay, I'll call you now. Yu Ying nodded heavily, turned around and left the cabin. Tap tap tap. 10 minutes later, the fox-eared girl and the cat-eared girl returned to the wooden house, both of them panting. Wu, I brought Alan here. Yu Ying calmed her breathing. Wu, why are you looking for me so late? Shalan asked in confusion. She kept asking the fox-eared girl on the way, but she didn't say anything. After she asked this question, she lowered her head slightly, her blue eyes not daring to look at the other person. The cat-eared girl, it was the first time to see witches at such a close distance, and Subai was very handsome, so she was a little shy. In addition, Subai was the new witch in the tribe, so she was afraid of witches from the beginning, even if the old witch was not around. Yes, still a little scared. I want to ask you if you want to be a Maiko. Subai got straight to the point. Xiaoyan's blue eyes widened, her cat ears twitched, and she said in surprise, "Witch, you want me to be a witch?" Third update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 245. Chapter 245, The Flattered Wolf-Eared Lady. One more please customize. Yes, don't you want to? Subai sipped her saliva. Shalan didn't know what to say for a moment. She looked at the fox-eared girl and then at Wu with a confused expression. She opened and closed her mouth for a long time, but no sound came out. After a while, she said, "Why did Kiri ask me to be a Maiko?" "Because of the content of your chat with Xiao," Subai said softly. "Wu, I just said that casually. If there is anything wrong, Wu, don't blame me." Shalan thought he had said the wrong thing. Subai covered his face with one hand and smiled. He didn't expect that girls from primitive tribes are so simple. He put down his hand and said with a smile, "No, what you said is very good, exactly. Because of this, I want you to help me." Can I help, Wu?" Shalan pointed at herself with a look of disbelief. "Of course, although I have already thought of what you said, it proves that your idea is still good, just like mine." Subai smiled. Shalan blinked her blue eyes and asked softly, "Which, is my method really effective?" "Well, be my Maiko. I will need you to do a lot of things for me in the future," Subai said seriously. Xiaoyan's heart skipped a beat. "Will you be my witch?" Her face was already visibly red. She lowered her head slightly, paused for a minute, and then made a sound like a mosquito. "Yeah." Subai saw the blushing look on the face of the cat-eared lady. Thinking back on what he just said, it was indeed a bit too direct. He smiled softly and said, "Okay, then you can come to me tomorrow morning. If you have something to do, let you do it." "Which, but," Shalan looked embarrassed and hesitated for a long time and said, "But the chief's side." What the cat-eared girl is worried about is that she is now a reserve warrior. If she becomes a witch, she will not be able to be a totem warrior. And it's not easy to explain to Yanjiao. After all, there aren't many totem warriors in the tribe. If even the reserve warriors become witches, I am afraid that one totem warrior will be lost. Because totem warriors are the most important thing in a tribe, it is naturally good to have more and more totem warriors. "It's okay, I'll talk to the chief, but you can't leave training behind." Subai thought for a moment and continued, "Of course, the workload on my side won't be too much, and you can also reduce it appropriately when training." Shalan nodded heavily, and the smile on her face could be said to indicate that she fully agreed with this method. Although the girl is suitable for awakening as a totem warrior, her current physique is not as strong as that of the horned girl. Every training does not take long. When she feels tired, she will rest for 10 minutes, but when she rests, others are training. Over time, the cat-eared girl feels a little uncomfortable in her heart. After all, everyone is a preparation warrior, why is she special? But she is also very special. After all, my mother is already an intermediate totem warrior. She has such good qualifications, why is her physical strength so poor? Several times, the cat-eared girl has wondered if it was because of her mother that she was selected. She is a preparation warrior. Without her mother, she would probably be just an ordinary person. She would only be scolded when her physical strength was not good. Wu's arrangements are just right now, and she won't be particularly tired even if the amount of training is reduced. It's been just fine since training. Okay, go back and rest first, and come see me tomorrow morning, Subai said softly. Good Shaylin looked happy, and gave the fox-eared girl a playful wink when she left. Yuying was also very happy when she saw her little sister so happy, although there were some tears on her face. She rubbed it with eyes that had been filled with tears. I said happily, it's great, Alan can finally do what he likes. In the past 2 days in the tribe, Cat-Ear Girl would go to Yuying whenever she was free, and then talk about some things about the tribe. When talking about these things, Shalan would talk endlessly, and there always seemed to be endless things to say. Likewise, her face was also full of smiles, unlike during training. Of course, the cat-eared girl also tried her best during training, but she just couldn't keep up with the rhythm of the others. Why do I feel that you are happier than her? Subai thought about how sad the fox-eared lady was before. Yuying came back to her senses and smiled, and said softly, because Alan can finally do what he likes, and she can also work with me for the witch matter. By the way, I just asked you to call Yeju for me. Did you call it? Subai suddenly remembered. It's called. It should be outside. I'll go take a look. When Yuying went to call Mao Er Niang, she called Lang Er Niang. Then when Mao Er Niang was talking to Subai inside, she might be waiting outside. Tap tap tap. Wu, is there any new task for me to do? Yeju asked as soon as he came in. Subai took out the saber from the box and said seriously, this is your saber. Yeju's eyes were immediately attracted to the saber. The saber looked particularly beautiful under the light of the oil lamp. She slowly pulled away from the saber, looked forward and asked Wu, give this to me. Give it a try, I think it's suitable for you. Subai nodded. When he fired the saber, the first person that came to his mind was the wolf-er girl. Because he had seen the skills of the wolf-er girl, and she had killed her alone before. The six-eyed red bird, so she felt that the saber was the most suitable for her. The expression on Yeju's cold face changed, and she took the sharp saber in surprise. The wolf-eared lady held the saber in one hand and said to I waved it in the air several times and found that the saber felt good in my hand. It was also very easy to swing, not like bone knives or stone knives at all. There was extra resistance when swung. There seemed to be nothing wrong with the saber. Just like things can hinder it, it seems to be able to split many things. Wu, this knife is too good, I can't keep it. Yeju immediately handed over the sword. She knew the rules in the tribe. Unless you are a chief or a leader, or have made a significant contribution to the tribe, you may get something. But it is absolutely not the case. As for such a good thing, Lang Er Niang was really flattered. It doesn't matter, just take it. After all, you have done a lot for the tribe, and you deserve this knife. Subai also knew the rules of the tribe. Yeju's eyes kept falling on the saber. It could be seen that he loved it very much. She hesitated for a while, but handed the saber over, shook her head and said, Wu, give it to me after I do bigger things for the tribe in the future. You have made a great contribution to the tribe, otherwise we would not be talking here now. Subai chuckled. Yes, Yeju is more respectful than obeying orders. Please update for support and customization. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 246. Chapter 246, A set of casual clothes. 2 more please customize. Early the next morning, Subai saw that Fox-Ear Girl was no longer in the cabin, so he signed in and opened the aid package as usual. A set of clothes suddenly appeared in his hand. It was a relatively casual set of clothes, with a white top and black shorts. This is good, Subai smiled with satisfaction. It's really not too comfortable to sleep in linen every night. After all, the linen of primitive tribes is not as processed as the one on the earth. It is not particularly skin-friendly when worn, but it feels a little bit it's prickly. But fortunately, it's a tolerable kind. It's better than wearing animal skins anyway. Of course, only Subai feels that linen is a bit prickly. He was used to wearing processed clothes on earth, and the comfort was there is no way to replace it. So even if he wears the linen that everyone in the tribe wants, he still feels uncomfortable. However, the people in the tribe don't think so of this uncomfortable feeling. They only think that wearing linen is too uncomfortable. Feeling comfortable. This is what I wear as pajamas at night, Subai smiled slightly. It is always better to sleep in this than to wear linen. Just put on linen clothes when leaving the cabin, otherwise going out in casual clothes will cause unnecessary discussions. Crunch. Yu Ying pushed open the wooden door with a wooden bucket and asked softly, are you up? Don't you want to sleep a little longer? No, I've had enough sleep. What's for breakfast today? Subai asked with a smile. He reached for the toothpaste and toothbrush, squeezed a little toothpaste and started to rinse his mouth and brush his teeth. Let me cook panesedum noodles for Wu and add some pheasant eggs to it. The pheasants raised in captivity have laid a lot of eggs recently. Yu Ying took out the wild eggs in the wooden bucket. When she went to take care of the sweet potatoes, she took the opportunity to look at the pheasants and hares in the wooden shed. She saw a lot of wild eggs and took some back. Now the breeding farm was built next to the main entrance of the tribe, that is, on the side facing the forest. On one side, sweet potatoes, ginger, and garlic are planted, and on the other side, a small wooden pen is built, which raises some hares, pheasants, etc. Since raising pheasants, the tribe I get some wild eggs every day, which are usually used to make panesedum noodles. Today I will teach you how to make fried eggs. After Subai rinsed his mouth, he put the toothpaste and toothbrush back to their original place. Omelette. Yu Ying was stunned with 2 wild eggs in her hands. Subai walked to the fire pond, put the iron pot on the fire pond, took a piece of fat and brushed it around to make sure there was oil in the iron pot. He put his hand on the iron pot to feel the temperature. After making sure the temperature was suitable, he cracked a wild egg in. Zilla zilla. The wild eggs fell into the iron pan, making a sound. In the blink of an eye, one side of the wild eggs was cooked, exuding a burst of fragrance. Yu Ying blew her nose vigorously, her pink eyes full of surprise. Woo, this smells so good. It's not ready yet, it will be more fragrant after frying. Subai smiled and turned the eggs over with chopsticks. Zilla zilla. The wild eggs were turned over, and the aroma came out again. 2 minutes later, a complete poached egg was ready. Subai put the first poached egg in a porcelain bowl and fried the second wild egg one after another. Yu Ying was surprised by this scene. She covered her mouth with her white hands and said in surprise, is this an omelette? It smells so good. Come and try it, you can fry this occasionally in the morning. Subai smiled and said. Okay, let me give it a try. Yu Ying was particularly interested and brought 2 more wild eggs over. Before frying the eggs, add some oil to the iron pan so that the wild eggs will not stick to the pan. When one side is completely solid, you can turn it over, Subai explained. Yu Ying listened attentively and kept nodding. She took a piece of fat and brushed it in the iron pot in a decent manner. Every step that followed was done according to Sudbai's words, but every step was a little cautious. This was her first time frying an egg, so she was inevitably a little nervous, as if she was afraid of messing up, so she fried the eggs much slower. Ha ha ha, it's okay, just fry a few more. Sudbai looked at the slightly burnt eggs and smiled. Yu Ying scratched her head in embarrassment and muttered, why is it different from the one made by the witch? It's great to be able to fry it like this for the first time. Just start cooking the noodles and put the fried eggs on the noodles. Sudbai smiled and said. Good. Yu Ying nodded and started making panesedum noodle. She has been making panesedum noodle for a long time. From kneading, rolling to cutting, every step is very skillful. It looks good. His posture looks like that of a chef. If there are enough ingredients, the food might be more delicious. Woo, can I come in? Shailen's soft voice sounded outside the wooden house. Well, come on in, Sudbai responded. Shailen smelled the smell of fried eggs as soon as she came in, and her blue eyes kept looking around the wooden house. Her eyes fell on the fox-eared girl, and she murmured to herself, what does this smell like? Ah! It smells so good. Alan, you're here. Yu Ying stood up and wiped her hands. Shailen came back to her senses with an embarrassed look on her face and said, good morning. You came here so early. Have you had breakfast? Sudbai asked. Not yet, because I was afraid that the witch would be waiting for me, so I came early in the morning. Shailen shook his head. Then let's eat together. Sudbai looked at Fox-Ear Girl and said softly, Xiao Yu, cook more noodles. Anyway, there are 4 fried eggs. Immediately Yu Ying immediately responded. No, Wu, I can just go back and eat later. Shailen shook her head repeatedly. Sudbai smiled slightly and said gently, we are all here, just eat together, Xiao will be very happy. Yu Ying nodded immediately and agreed. Wudu agreed, you can eat with us. Lan hesitated for a while and nodded, then said okay, I will come over after eating next time. It does not matter, Sudbai had to sigh. There are still people in primitive tribes who are so decent and polite. Wu, here I come. Yanhua's voice came from outside the wooden house. Niojiao Niang walked into the wooden house with a happy look on her face. She stretched her waist and looked at the 3 of them with a smile. Sister Ahua, are we here too? Yu Ying asked curiously. I saw Ilan looking happy in the morning, and I didn't know why. I just went to find her, and Aunt Chahong said she was looking for a witch, so I came, Yanhua explained. Shailen felt embarrassed all of a sudden and kept saying, excused, no, how could I be so happy this morning? There's none? But I am obviously very happy to see you. Yanhua looked determined. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 247. Chapter 247, Disease enters through the mouth. 3 more, please customize. Shailen was so embarrassed that she kept covering her face and waving, Ahua, don't talk nonsense. The cat-eared girl seemed to have seen through her thoughts, her whole face was red. She couldn't let the other person think that she was so happy just because she could become a Maiko. Is that so? Could it be that I really saw it wrong? Yanhua scratched the back of his head, then shook his head and said, Alan, what are you doing here? Want to have breakfast? Do you often come to Wu's place for breakfast? Shailen felt as if the other party was saying something that was commonplace. Yeah, Yanhua nodded without hesitation, squatting on the ground and watching the fox-eared lady making dough. Shailen was stunned. She didn't expect the other party to look so relaxed. When you come in next time, you have to ask the witch if he can let you in. No, come in directly, this will offend the witch. The witch allowed me to come in directly. Yanhua raised her head and said. How is it possible? How could the witch let you come in directly? This won't work. Shalan doesn't believe it. Ha ha ha, Subai smiled lightly. I asked her to come in directly, so it doesn't matter. So that's it. Shalan lowered his head slightly. He didn't know what to say for a moment and was a little embarrassed. If you come in the future, you can come in directly without asking me. This would be too troublesome, Subai said softly. Shalan raised his head, his blue eyes slightly opened, shook his head and said, no witch, this is against the rules of the tribe. Just listen to the witch. The witch doesn't like trouble. Yanhua stood up and pressed the cat-eared girl's shoulder. Although Shalan knew that the horned girl was careless, it was a bit surprising to be so mingled with the witch. When we were in the tribe before, let alone have breakfast with the old witch. You can't even say a single word without saying anything. But why isn't it like this now? It feels like the Horn Lady is very familiar with this place. Well, Ahua is right, just do as I say. You are a witch, no one will say anything. Sudbai's voice was as warm as jade. Yes, witch. Shalan pursed her lips and said. Yanhua thought her ears had heard it wrong, and her red eyes suddenly stared at the boss, who was shocked and said, what, did I just hear it wrong? Sister Ahua heard it right, Alan is already a witch. Yu Ying clapped her hands and said. What, when did it happen? Alan becomes a witch? What about future training? The careless Yanhua was a little at a loss. The witch told me last night that training and being a witch will not be left behind in the future, and I can also train with you. Shalan smiled and said. Yanhua's wide-open eyes began to slowly return to normal, and her voice gradually became calmer. A witch and a reserve warrior, this is the first time I've heard of it. The witch said that Alan was very smart and could help the witch take on many tasks, so he let Alan become a witch, Yu Ying explained. Shalan nodded without hesitation, but a little shy. I don't know if I can help Wu. Of course you can, you are so smart, Yanhua said without hesitation. She still knew the cleverness of the cat-eared girl. She was the smartest among the three, so it was no wonder she became a witch. Subai returned to his seat and sat down, and began to flip through the herbs to make. The three good friends started chatting and forgot about themselves. 10 minutes later, Yu Ying placed 4 bowls of noodles on the table with a poached egg on top. She washed her hands and said, okay, you can wash your hands and eat noodles. There are poached eggs today. This vocabulary was taught to her by Subai. Although it was the first time she heard it, Fox-eared girl thought it sounded very nice. What are poached eggs? Shalan looked confused. She had eaten this Painazitum noodle before, and she fell in love with it when she ate it. It's a new food that the witch taught me to make today. I haven't eaten it yet. Yu Ying began to look forward to the taste of poached eggs. Yanhua was also looking forward to it, and immediately ran to wash her hands. Which taught you to make it? That must be delicious. Alan, you have to wash your hands before you can eat noodles. Yu Ying looked at the cat-eared girl and said. Shalan was stunned. Seeing that they had all washed their hands, she asked, why do you have to wash your hands? This is what Wu said. If we don't wash our hands, there will be a lot of little bugs on our hands. If we eat without washing our hands, we will eat all the little bugs into our stomachs. Yu Ying was convinced. In fact, if you don't wash your hands, there will be a lot of bacteria on your hands. If you do this for a long time, you will have diarrhea and illness. In order to make it easier for the girl to understand, Subai directly said that if you don't wash your hands, there will be a lot of bugs. Insects. Just like what I explained before about boiling water before drinking it, there are also many small insects in the water. Yes, you must wash your hands. Yanhua also firmly believes that she washes her hands every time she eats. Although she thinks it's troublesome, she doesn't feel troublesome every time when she sees that the water after washing is black. Shalan got a full body shot shivering. She hurriedly looked at her hands, fearing that there were many bugs on her hands. She looked left and right and asked, why don't I see a lot of bugs? You will know when you wash your hands. After washing your hands, you will see those little bugs. Yu Ying pretended to be suspenseful. This was what Subai told her at the time. She didn't believe it at first, but when she saw the black water after washing, she felt bad. Shalan came to the water with doubts. In front of the basin, she put her hands into the water and started washing her hands according to the method taught by Fox-Ear Girl. In order to let the other party learn the hand-washing action as quickly as possible, Fox-Ear Girl washed her hands again. Swish swish swish. Shalan washed her hands back and forth several times, and the originally clear water began to become turbid. A minute later, the entire basin of water was dirty. She closed her eyes and did not dare to look. Let me tell you, if you still don't believe it, if you have a lot of little bugs on your hands, the black water is the best proof. Yu Ying looks like a little kid. Why is the water so dark? Are the black things just bugs? Shalan asked. Because bugs are hidden in our daily lives, they will be infected wherever our hands touch them. Su Bai picked up the panesetum noodle and continued to explain, if you don't wash your hands, you will eat bugs along with the food, and you will have diarrhea and illness. What he said is just a relatively popular one. The official statement is that when our hands touch objects, they will come into contact with bacteria on them. Of course, this will not cause harm to the appearance, but when we touch objects when your hands are used directly for eating, there will be hidden dangers. This is the reason why the disease enters through the mouth. If you tell this to girls now, they will not understand, so you can only use popular language to explain it. Third update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 248. Chapter 248, The Cat-Eared Girl with Super Memory. One more requests for customization. Shalan looked at the water in the tub, shuddered all over, and said, did we eat a lot of bugs in the past? In the past, when we didn't wash our hands, we just ate everything. Yanhua recalled that she was a little scared before. Then I will definitely wash my hands every day from now on. Shalan said seriously, feeling a little scared when she thought of the past. Cat-eared lady had never had the habit of washing hands before. No, it should be said that the entire tribe did not have the habit of washing hands. Eat the noodles quickly, otherwise you will be a mess. Subai had already started sucking up the noodles. Yu Ying also picked up the porcelain bowl with both hands and started eating noodles, asking Wu, what does tuo mean? Even if the noodles become a ball, it will affect the texture of the noodles and make them unpalatable. Subai explained simply. So that's it. Yu Ying has already memorized this little common sense in her heart, but this poached egg is delicious. Yes, it's different from the ones cooked in noodles before. Yanhua stuffed a whole poached egg into her mouth. The horned lady never hesitates when eating, she always eats in big mouthfuls. She feels that only in this way can she be regarded as a real warrior. Compared with the cat-eared girl, it is different. She ate it slowly and slowly, bite by bite, but she was not used to using chopsticks yet. Shalan ate very slowly. While eating, she sighed inwardly at the deliciousness of the poached eggs and the extraordinary workmanship of the panesetum noodles. Unexpectedly, it's really amazing that a plant can go through several processes and turn into such delicious food. On the first day when the cat-eared girl arrived at the tribe, Subai asked everyone to give Shahong and the others a piece of food. He shared a bowl of panesetum noodles. Of course, he was a member of the Yanlong tribe and had panesetum noodles. He also had plans for the Black Snake tribe. After all, it was impossible to feed so many people at once. He is currently thinking about a solution. Even if he exchanges porcelain for things, it is still a bit difficult to feed so many people. After all, the rainy season is coming soon, and food storage has become the biggest problem. At this time, not only cannot food be stored, and it is really unrealistic to distribute it to the nearly 2,000 people of the Black Snake tribe. Eat slowly, you won't be able to taste it if you eat it so fast. Subai laughed at the way Niojiao Niang ate. I have said it many times that Nyojiao Niang still eats generously. In fact, this kind of character is also good. After all, everyone's personality is different. Because of this, so everyone is interesting. But what he is worried about is that Horn Girl eats too quickly, fearing that she will choke or something like that. Woo, I can taste it, it's very good. Yanhua had already started to drink the soup. Shaylin covered her mouth and laughed softly. She didn't expect that Nyojiao Niang would still eat like this after not seeing each other for so long. She took a sip of the soup and said softly, "Ahua, I'm just eating now." After just a few bites, you finished eating? Yanhua put down the porcelain bowl, wiped her mouth, and said with satisfaction, "Eating like this is the way of a warrior." Shat. Lan couldn't help but twitch the corners of her mouth twice, rolled her eyes and said, "It's not good to eat too fast." Before, someone in the tribe choked after eating too quickly, and his face turned purple because he couldn't breathe smoothly. It seems that this should also be included in the educational theme, Subai murmured to himself. The primitive tribe naturally has its bloody nature, but some of them are also bad habits. For the sake of health, some things must be corrected. After half an hour, the four of them finished their breakfast, and everyone they all looked satisfied. "Woo, I'm going to train first." Yanhua stood up and patted the animal skin coat. "Alan, do you want to go with you?" "The witch has something to do with me, so I won't go there yet." Shalan raised his head and said, "Well, I asked Alan to do something for her." "You go to train first, and she will train with you in the afternoon," Subai said softly. Yanhua blinked her red eyes and was stunned for a few seconds. After realizing that the cat-eared girl turned into a witch, she nodded and left the wooden house. Tap tap tap. Shalan watched the Nyojiao Niang leave and breathed a sigh of relief. She turned around and asked, "Wu, is there anything you want me to do today?" Subai took out the recruitment conditions he wrote out last night, handed them over and said, "This is what you have to do today." Shalan took the wolf's tail papyrus with both hands and began to read through it one by one. Of course, she didn't recognize the words on it. After reading the last piece of paper, she said with a confused look on her face, "Woo, what is written on it?" "These are the recruitment conditions I wrote last night, and I want you to help me declare these conditions," Subai explained. "But Wu, I don't know how to read." "Let Xiao do this." "She will definitely do it better than me," Shaylin said in frustration. She thought that becoming a witch could help the witches, but she didn't expect that she would be stumped on the first task. It was really sad. She knew that fox-eared lady is now learning to read. Even the horned lady is the same. She doesn't know a few of the words on it, so it's the same whether you go to her or not. Subai sat up straight and continued, "Besides, Xiao Yu has other things to be busy with." "Which, teach me how to read," Shalan suddenly cheered up. "Don't worry about this, I will definitely teach you how to read, but now I will give you a rough outline and you can just declare it," Subai said with a smile. Shalan handed over the wolf's tail papyrus and asked, what is written on it?" "What do you want me to do?" "What is written above are the recruitment conditions. You go and declare these conditions for me, and then you are responsible for gathering those who want to come," Subai explained simply. "Wu, what is recruitment?" Shalan asked doubtfully. Subai turned his black eyes and thought of a simple statement, "Recruiting is similar to me asking you to be a witch. I have other things to arrange for the people of the tribe to do." "I understand, what does Wu want me to say to them?" "I'll remember it," Shalan said seriously. "Alan's memory is the best," Yu Ying said from the side. "Then remember when I said it?" Subai paused and continued, "I need 100 people to burn hay, 100 people to stir plant ashes, and 500 people to build houses." The sandy blue eyes turned, and her mind quickly remembered what she had just heard. She nodded after a moment and asked, "Is there anything else?" "I remember it all. There were also 200 people who polished stones, 200 people who looked for stones, 50 people who built furnaces, and 50 people who dug pits, Subai added. I remember everything. Is that all the witchcraft? Shalan has memorized everything. Subai raised his thick eyebrows slightly and asked, have you really remembered everything? I just said a bit too much. Please update for support and customization. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 249. Chapter 249, You are literate. 2 more please customize. Shalan nodded without hesitation and said firmly, yes, I have memorized everything. Subai was a little surprised. He didn't expect the cat-eared lady to have such a good memory and said, can you repeat it again? 100 people are needed to burn hay, 100 people to stir the ashes, and 500 people to build houses. Shalan said all the words she just memorized word for word. Bang bang bang. Subai clapped his hands repeatedly and praised, okay, I remember it very clearly, there are no mistakes or omissions. Your Majesty, then I will go tell the people in the tribe. Shalan sorted out the wolf's tail paper and gave it back to the other party. Take it and post it for everyone to see, Subai said. Which, everyone is illiterate, no one will understand when I post it? Shalan asked doubtfully. Subai smiled slightly and explained, I know they can't understand it, but you can. Shalan became even more confused and shook her head repeatedly. No, 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 I can't understand witches. But didn't you just tell me? Subai asked back. That's what the witch told me. I repeated what the witch told me. I couldn't understand the words. San's blue eyes were full of questions. Subai smiled slightly, took a sip of saliva, and explained, when I say you are literate, you are literate. At least it makes them think you are illiterate. Lan understood a little bit and asked, why does the witch want them to think that I know how to read? The cat-eared girl guessed that it was to make the people in the tribe think that she was literate, but why? That's right, just say that you are literate, you can eat a lot of meat every day, and you can also get linen. Of course, this will be given to you later, Subai said lightly. I have a lot of meat every day because I am literate, and I can also get linen? Shalan fiddled with his blue hair and continued to ask, but why do you want the tribesmen to feel this way? Because we need to motivate them. Only in this way will they take literacy more seriously, Subai explained. He came up with this idea temporarily. Because of the cat-eared girl's super memory, he found that she could be a role model. Only by being literate can you become a witch, because if you are literate, you can eat a lot of meat every day, and because if you can read, you can wear linen clothes. These are the things that men and women in the tribe are eager for. Girls definitely hope to be witches and have linen clothes, while boys hope to have big mouthfuls of meat. It just so happens that the cat-eared girl has a very strong memory, so she can use it. Her memory made others think that she was really literate. Shalan suddenly understood and said in surprise, Wu wants me to convey your recruitment, and then make the people of the tribe think that literacy is really a good thing, right? Smart, that is, Subai said with a smile. Sure enough, the cat-eared girl is still smart. I understand and I will do it. Shalan nodded, turned around and was about to leave. Wait a minute. Please change into linen clothes first. This will be more convincing. Subai stopped the other party. Shalan turned his head and looked embarrassed, hesitantly said, Wu, I don't, there were no linen clothes, only animal skin clothes. The cat-eared girl is wearing animal skins, but because she has a good figure, the area of the animal skins is larger and the wrapping is tighter. I said you can get these things if you are literate, of course you don't need your own, I will give them to you, Subai said loudly. But Wu, I am really illiterate, so I cannot ask for your linen clothes. Shalan shook her head repeatedly. The cat-eared girl always felt that she was illiterate and couldn't ask for linen. What's more, linen is a very precious thing, so she couldn't ask for it. It doesn't matter, you will be literate in the future, so just put it on first, Subai said gently. Yes, Alan, just put it on. Linen clothes are really comfortable, and if you want to recruit, people must see you wearing linen clothes, otherwise they won't believe you, Yu Ying persuaded from the side. Shalan held the animal skin skirt with both hands, hesitated for a while and nodded. Okay, I will put it on, but I will change it when I get back. Change it first. Subai didn't think that the other party would be willing to take it off after putting it on. Xiao, give her one of yours, and you can make another one later. Now in the tribe, he, fox-eared girl and Yanhua are the only ones wearing linen clothes, and no one else has them. But the cat-eared girl can't wear the linen clothes with the figure of ox-horn girl. After all, the pair are so big in front. But Yu Ying's is different. She is the same as the cat-eared girl, not to mention that their body shapes are similar. Moreover, the linen clothes are also relaxed a little when they are sewn. They are not tight, so they can naturally be worn. No, 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 in this case I can't have it. Even more. Shalan shook her head quickly. She didn't want to wear someone else's clothes. It's okay, I have 2 pieces, I'll just sew them later. After Yu Ying said that, she went to find the linen clothes. The fox-eared girl took out a linen clothes. It looked very loose, so she compared it with the cat-eared girl's body. Okay, looks just right, Yu Ying smiled. Shalan took the clothes awkwardly, feeling a little guilty, and said, I'll change them for you when you get back. It doesn't matter, go ahead. Yu Ying waved her hand and said. Remember what I told you, and by the way, if you are literate, you will get the same treatment, Subai added. Shalan nodded heavily, hugged Ma Bai and said, I will definitely complete this task. Tap tap tap. The cat-eared girl walked out of the wooden house holding Ma Bai, and looked at Ma Bai in her arms with a smile on her face. Because the touch of linen clothes is very comfortable, you can clearly feel the comfort when you hold it on your body. She returned to her wooden house, changed into linen clothes, and walked away with the wolf's tail paper. She came to the middle of the tribe, erected a wooden board, and nailed the 3 pieces of wolf's tail paper to the wooden board. The cat-eared girl has already sent people to the tribe to report that the witch has something to announce. Tap tap tap. People from the tribe came one after another, and they all gathered in front of the wooden board, and everyone was chattering. What do you think it says? I don't know either, we don't know the words. Is there something new? Look, Shalan is standing there. Why is she wearing linen clothes? Yes, why is she wearing linen clothes? So envious, I want it too. The crowd was chattering, all discussing what was on the wooden board, but they didn't know how to read, so they were particularly curious. Wu Yu is recruiting, so please be quiet. Shalan said in a loud voice. This was her first time speaking in front of so many people, so she was inevitably a little nervous. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 250. Chapter 250, Doubts and Envy among the crowd. 3 more, please customize. The people below saw the cat-eared girl finish talking and started talking even more. Why did they think Shalan was on top? Hey, you said Wu has something for us to do, and he actually asked Shalan to tell us. I don't know either, but judging from Sha Yian's appearance, it seems like there are a lot of things for us to do. It should be, look at the densely written things on that piece of paper. Although I don't know what they are, there must be a lot of things. Do you think it has something to do with those stone houses? Wu is building those stone houses recently. I think it's possible. It's probably related to those stone houses. Everyone in the Yanlong tribe was discussing, and they didn't know why. Of course, there are also people from the Black Snake tribe. Naturally, they don't know the cat-eared girl. They are just curious about what is on the board. What's that on the board? Why is it so strange? I don't know either. The dark stuff on it seems to be text, if I'm not wrong. It should be text, but why is it on top? What is that thing above? Aren't words usually written on animal skins? How could it appear on that thing? This tribe is really weird. The people of the Black Snake tribe don't know about wolf's tail paper, let alone that the words were written with quill pens. Naturally, I was very curious when I saw those things, and they were all guessing what novelty they were. Shalan raised his hand and pressed it, deliberately pretending to be very imposing, and said, "Something good for you is coming." "Shalan, what is it?" a person in the crowd asked. "Yes, are you going to give us more dried meat?" another person asked. In the eyes of these people, the most important thing is to eat enough, and the good thing must be meat. "Yes, it's jerky." Shalan didn't show off and answered directly. When the people below heard that it was dried meat, they all cheered, as if they had heard wrongly. "Really? Is Wu really going to share the dried meat with us? Oh my gosh, I'm hungry. It's so good to have jerky and I'll be full. Isn't that right? My children don't eat much either. They are waiting for this jerky." All the people below were cheering and shouting, eager to get those dried meats now. The people of the Black Snake tribe are no exception. They are naturally very happy, because after all, they have dried meat to eat. Although they were worried that they would be in trouble at first, after all, the Black Snake tribe had been wiped out. Generally, if a tribe is succeeded by another tribe, most of the people in the original tribe will be executed. Even those who survive will become slaves and be humiliated every day, which is no different from death. But now they heard that Wu wanted to divide the dried meat and eat it. In addition to being shocked, they were even more happy. Shalan waited for them all to finish cheering, and then said, "It's not for nothing the cat-eared girl was frightened by their enthusiasm." Although she knew that such a scene would happen, when it actually happened, she's still feeling different. "What does the witch want us to do?" "Those Painazetum papers you posted are probably what you want us to do, right?" asked a young man. "Yes, Wu wants you to work. Only if you work will you have more dried meat to eat," Shalan said seriously. "We know this, you name it, we can do any job," another person said. "Yes, we will do it as long as there are certain things," others also echoed. People in primitive tribes all know that only by working hard can they have food, so when the cat-eared girl said that only when she goes out to work can she have dried meat to eat, they were not surprised at all. They even felt very satisfied. "It's normal. I'm already looking forward to what my job will be like." "Then listen carefully. I will only read the words above once." Shalan cleared her throat and continued, "The witch needs 100 people to burn hay, 100 people to stir the ash, and 500 people to build the house." She read out all the words she heard in the cabin, word by word, without missing a word. To be honest, the cat-eared girl felt a little guilty when she finished reading, and kept looking at the person below with her blue eyes. In order to prevent others from seeing the flaws, she recited these words while looking at the papyrus paper. Just after saying those words, she didn't dare to look at the people below her for the first time. It took her a while before she dared to look at them. "Okay, I can do all these jobs, no problem at all. Then I'll choose to build a furnace. I haven't tried that job yet. In this case, I will choose to move the rocks. This is the easiest one. A real man would choose to build a stone house, I chose this one." Not only the people from the Yanlong tribe, but also the people from the Black tribe participated in the shouting. They also know that only by working can they eat dried meat. After all, they are people from other tribes. At this time, only active participation in work can save their lives. They couldn't be happier with a job that could both save their lives and eat dried meat, so they all responded very positively. "Okay, if everyone who wants it comes to sign up here, I will assign you to do these jobs. Shalan nodded. Shalan, is this what is written on the Painazetum paper? It seems to me that there are a lot of words on it. One person was still confused. Shalan was waiting for this question and said with a smile, there are some more, but you guys probably haven't met the requirements, so I won't read them anymore. It doesn't matter, just read it and let us know what is written on it, the man shouted. But Shalan, when did you become literate? You can actually understand the words written by witches, another person suddenly wondered. Yes, that's true. When did you become literate? I remember you were illiterate before, the other person knows, the cat-eared girl. And since when did you help a witch do this kind of work? Have you become a witch? This is all the work of witches, the man asked at first. And why are you wearing linen clothes? I really envy you, a girl said. Shalan stood up straight and explained, I became a witch of a witch. The witch taught me how to read and write, and the linen clothes on my body were all given to me by the witch. Oh my God, it turns out there are so many benefits to becoming a Miko. I wish I could be a Miko too. There were envious sounds from the crowd. And you can read so quickly. You can actually learn so many words in just a few days. There were still many envious voices in the crowd. Shalan smiled slightly, because she knew that someone had stepped into Wu's plan. Third update, please support and customize.